She threw rag on the janitor's face without knowing she was the mother of the man she wants to marry. And had the kind of confidence people get when life has never really hit them hard. The place was buzzing, workers climbing ladders, moving crates, testing lights, because a major charity gala was happening later that night, and the pressure was on. A woman in a navy blue janitor uniform was kneeling near the entrance, wiping down a streak on the floor. She looked about 60, maybe late 50s if she aged well. She had a calmness about her that didn't really fit the chaos around her. She worked slowly but carefully, like she didn't rush through things, and almost stepped on the wet patch. She looked down at the floor, then at the woman, and the irritation showed on her face immediately. Anyone who knew her could recognize that expression. It was the same look she gave waiters when her drink didn't come with enough ice. She lifted her sunglasses and said, "Why does this look like this? It's supposed to shine. We're preparing for a charity event, not a subway station." The woman kept wiping, not reacting. She said, "It's drying. It'll look better in a minute." And stared like she couldn't believe the answer. "A minute? You know how many important people are coming here tonight?" The woman nodded without looking up. "Yes. And it'll be ready." And hated being brushed off. She didn't raise her voice, but everyone nearby heard the shift in her tone. "So you're telling me I'm wrong? That's what you're saying?" The woman didn't argue. "No. Just giving you the facts." And stood there for maybe 2 seconds, just enough time for her irritation to turn into something uglier. She reached into the woman's cleaning cart without asking, picked up a wet rag, and slapped it against the side of the woman's face. And let the rag fall onto the floor like it didn't matter. Maybe clean it with more effort this time. The woman stood slowly, and looked away first. Someone in the back whispered, "Oh my God." Another worker started to reach for their phone, but their supervisor shot them a warning look. Nobody wanted to be fired for recording something the owner wouldn't like. The woman turned, picked up her bucket, and rolled it away without a word. And brushed her hands against each other as if she'd cleaned something off. Honestly, if people took pride in their jobs, this wouldn't happen. And she walked further into the hall like she hadn't just smacked someone with a dirty rag in front of 15 people. None of the workers said a thing to her. But every single one of them knew exactly who the woman was, even if and didn't. Her name was Hale Riff. Marcus Riff's mother. The owner's mother. And today had been her first day working undercover. She'd convinced her son to let her see the business from the ground level. No special treatment, no title, no last name mentioned. She wanted to learn how the staff were handled and whether the company's culture was still good now that Marcus had expanded to multiple venues across New York. She definitely learned something. And had no idea she'd just insulted the one woman who could end her relationship in under 10 minutes. Workers exchanged glances, but nobody warned her. What could they say? "Hey, you just slapped your future mother-in-law in the face?" Not unless they wanted legal problems. And carried on like nothing was wrong. She walked through the venue pointing at things she wanted moved, adjusted, changed, or replaced. People obeyed, but the mood had shifted. They weren't afraid of her, they were uncomfortable around her. Meanwhile, Hale went straight to her small locker, grabbed her belongings, and left the building before anyone could stop her. She didn't cry in the hallway or take dramatic breaths. She simply walked out, took the subway home, sat in her kitchen, and stared at the wall in calculation for a long time. Because she realized something. If this was how and treated someone she thought was beneath her, then Marcus was in danger of becoming another person and walked over. That wasn't happening. Not on her watch. Back at the event center, and didn't notice her absence. She kept moving through the place like an inspector sent by the city. At one point she stood near the catering area sniffing the air like something offended her. "Is that garlic?" she asked a chef. "Yes, ma'am," he said. "It's part of the warm hors d'oeuvres." "Well, it's strong. Fix it." "It's supposed to be strong." And gave him a sarcastic smile. "Well, this isn't an Italian restaurant. Fix it." The chef turned away with a look that said he needed a drink, but he adjusted the dish anyway. And wasn't the devil. She wasn't a villain in a movie. She was just used to getting her way. Her parents spoiled her. Her exes spoiled her. And Marcus, sweet, calm, patient Marcus, spoiled her the most. Maybe that's why she didn't even notice people acting stiff around her. She was too used to being the center of attention to recognize when the attention wasn't admiration. Marcus showed up around noon. He had been handling logistics in Manhattan earlier that morning. The moment he walked through the door, Anne's face brightened. She hurried to him, gave him a tight hug, then backed up to adjust his collar like she always did. "You finally made it," she said. "This place is a mess. I've been fixing everything." Workers behind her tried not to look directly at him. Their expressions were a mixture of awkwardness and pity. Marcus didn't understand it. He nodded politely at them, but their reactions were odd, too stiff, too forced. One employee even walked away the moment he entered the room. Marcus leaned toward Anne. "Why does everyone seem tense?" "They're intimidated, babe. You know how staff get when the owner shows up." Marcus frowned. They weren't like this last week. Well, maybe they're nervous today. She said it casually, brushing it away. Marcus wasn't fully convinced, but he had 100 things to do and didn't push. They walked into his office to go over final details for the fundraiser, and made suggestions that didn't really make sense, but Marcus didn't argue because he didn't want another debate. She wanted centerpieces changed again, even though the event planner had locked everything in. Marcus tried gently, and we finalized everything. Changing it again will. Marcus, she said in that tone she used when she wanted him to stop talking, guests are coming from across New York. If the first thing they see is tacky, they'll judge the entire event. Marcus sighed internally. He had learned to pick his battles, and this wasn't one he felt like fighting. But as they walked through the hall again, his employees wouldn't look at him directly. A few gave him tight, polite smiles. One woman shuffled past him quickly like she expected trouble, and didn't notice any of it. She was too busy complaining about the lighting. At one point, when Marcus slipped away to check on the tech crew, and lingered near the front desk where two workers were whispering behind a printer, they paused when she approached. She raised an eyebrow. Is there a reason everyone's acting weird today? Seriously. It's getting annoying. They exchanged a glance, but neither answered. One of them cleared his throat and said, "We're just busy. Long day ahead." She rolled her eyes like she didn't believe it. Later that afternoon, she was rearranging place cards when she got a call from her friend Tori. She put it on speaker because her hands were full. "You at Marcus's place?" Tori asked, and smirked. "Yeah. Trying to fix everything. Honestly, if I wasn't here, this event would look like a school dance." A caterer walking past raised an eyebrow. Tori laughed. "You're basically the boss." "Well, I will be officially once we're married." Marcus means well, but he has no taste. He'd probably have chosen plastic chairs if I didn't say something. And said it jokingly, but it didn't land well with anyone nearby. She didn't notice. She kept talking. "He's lucky to have me. Seriously. Without me, he'd still be running that tiny office in Queens. I pushed him to expand. I'm basically his business brain." A staff member paused mid-step, and continued, "Anyway, once the wedding is over, I'll finally get things in order. His company needs structure. And honestly, some of these workers are slow." Two workers heard that part clearly. By the time Marcus came back, the room felt like a thick cloud of tension. He felt it, even if he couldn't explain it. Around 5 p.m., the event was almost ready. Tables set. Stage done. Catering warming up. Everything looked polished. Anne's mood improved because the place finally matched her standards. Marcus squeezed her hand. "Thanks for helping today." She smiled. Someone had to keep things from falling apart. She said it lightly, but Marcus felt the sting. He didn't argue. That night, guests started arriving. The event took off. People in suits and gowns, local officials, business partners, media, basically half of upscale Brooklyn. Marcus was shaking hands left and right, and was doing her best to look like the future Mrs. Riff. Then the doors opened again. Hale walked in. Not in uniform. Not with dust on her hands. She was dressed in a simple corporate attire with a small silver necklace Marcus had given her years ago. She didn't look angry. She didn't look dramatic. She looked composed, which was scarier. Marcus's face lit up instantly. "Mom, you came." Anne's stomach dropped. Her eyes widened, but she tried to hide it. Hale didn't hug Anne. She didn't greet her. She didn't pretend. She simply said, "Hello, Anne." Anne's voice cracked slightly. "Mrs. Riff, I didn't know you'd be here." Hale replied calmly, "I learned a lot today, so I thought I should." Marcus looked between them. "What's going on?" Hale gave a small smile, not kind, not cruel, just knowing. "We'll talk tomorrow." Tomorrow arrived faster than Anne could blink, and it was about to destroy everything she thought she controlled. The next morning, the building didn't feel like the same place. It was quieter than usual, like the whole staff knew something big was coming. People stood near their stations but weren't really working. They kept glancing at the elevator every time it dinged, expecting someone important to walk out. Marcus had barely slept. He wasn't the type to panic over things, but he kept replaying the look on his mother's face from the night before. It wasn't anger. It wasn't even disappointment. It was something heavier. Something that came with purpose. The way she said, "We'll talk tomorrow," didn't leave room for guessing. And had barely slept either, but for completely different reasons. She kept flushing cold and hot all night, thinking about that rag incident. Thinking about how Hale had looked her straight in the eye at the gala. Thinking about how easily her fiancé's mother could end everything for her. She tried telling herself she could explain it away. She could claim she didn't know. She could make it sound like a misunderstanding. Maybe if she apologized, Hale would let it go. But even she didn't believe that. At 9:55 a.m., the boardroom started filling. Managers. Executives. A few lawyers. People who typically didn't all show up at the same time unless something major was happening. They sat quietly, trying not to stare at each other. and entered first. She was dressed cleaner than usual, almost plain, trying not to draw too much attention. She gave a small smile to the people she recognized, but nobody returned it. They just looked away or nodded stiffly. Then Marcus walked in. He looked tired but calm. He sat beside and out of habit, but he didn't reach for her hand like he usually did. She noticed. It made her stomach twist again. At exactly 10 o'clock, the door opened. Hale walked in. No makeup. Hair tie back. Wearing a cardigan and slacks, like someone going to a parent-teacher meeting. No theatrics. No anger. Just purpose. Everyone stood. She motioned for them to sit. And stared at the table. Marcus looked at his mother with a question in his eyes. She didn't look back at him. She stood at the head of the table. Thank you for coming. This won't take long. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't look dramatic. She sounded like someone who had already made decisions long before stepping into the building. Anne's throat tightened. Hale started simply. Yesterday morning, I came here in janitorial uniform. Some of you knew. Most didn't. I wanted to see how my son's company treats the people at the bottom of the ladder. A few people nodded cautiously. And I did learn something, Hale continued. Not about the company. About someone in this room. Anne's pulse thudded against her neck. She kept her hands under the table so nobody would see them shake. Hale didn't drag anything out. She went right into it. And assaulted me with a dirty cleaning rag. The room didn't gasp. It didn't explode. It just went stiff, like everyone had been waiting for her to say it. And blurted, I didn't know it was you. That's the point, Hale cut in. You didn't ask. You didn't treat me like a human being. You treated me like trash because you assumed I was a nobody. Marcus stared at Anne. Really stared. He wasn't angry yet, just confused. Like he was trying to put pieces together. And lifted her hands slightly. I didn't hit her. You slapped the rag into my face, Hale said, still calm. Half the staff saw it. A manager nodded slowly. Others avoided eye contact. And tried again. Okay, but listen, everyone was stressed. I overreacted. I thought the floor wasn't done right. Anne, Hale interrupted, this isn't about the floor. It's about the way you treat people who you think don't matter. And opened her mouth but nothing came out. Hale turned to Marcus. I didn't want to humiliate you last night. But I also couldn't pretend it didn't happen. Marcus leaned back, breathing slowly. He didn't yell. He didn't curse. Anne, he asked quietly, did you throw something at my mom? And shook her head fast. I didn't throw anything. She wasn't doing her job right and so you hit her? He asked. It wasn't anger in his voice yet. It was disbelief. It wasn't a hit, she insisted. It was a tap. A stupid moment. I shouldn't have done it. I'm sorry, okay? I really am. I didn't know it was your mom. Anyone would have reacted differently if they knew. That doesn't make it better, Marcus said. Why does someone have to be important for you to act decent? And felt her face flush. She didn't have a good answer. Not one anyone would accept. Hale let the silence hang long enough for everyone to feel it. Then she said something nobody saw coming. And that's only one part, she continued. There's something else. Something my son deserves to know. Anne's head snapped up. Her stomach dropped hard, like she missed a step. Hale folded her arms. And is pregnant. The room erupted in whispers. People leaned forward. Someone covered their mouth. Marcus blinked slowly. What? Anne's voice cracked. I'm not. Hale didn't look at her. And the child is not my son's. Anne jerked in her seat. That is not true. Why would you say that? Marcus stood quickly, the chair legs scraping the floor. His face went pale. And, are you pregnant? No, she yelled. Her voice shook so badly it made her sound like she was lying. I swear to God I'm not. Then why would she say that? He asked. I don't know. Ask her. She hates me. Hale ignored the outburst. Before anyone calls this personal, it is. When someone treats people like garbage, I worry about my son's future. And turned red. She looked around the table desperately, searching for someone who might defend her, but every pair of eyes looked down or away. Marcus rubbed his forehead. I can't believe any of this. Marcus, and pleaded, reaching for his arm. This is crazy. She's making it up. You know I would never. He stepped away like her touch burned. No, he said quietly. I don't know that. His voice wasn't loud. It wasn't shaking. But it felt final. Let's end this meeting, Marcus said, barely looking at anyone. I need time. Everyone stood silently. Chairs moved without a sound. People filed out without speaking. Not one person looked at Anne, except with pity or judgment. And stayed seated, staring at the table, breathing shallowly. The only two people left in the room were her and Marcus. She stood slowly. Marcus, please look at me. He didn't. Please, she said, her voice trembling. Your mother is lying. He finally met her eyes, But his face wasn't angry. It was sad. And the way you treated her, the things you say behind people's backs, the way you talk to my staff. I keep defending you to everyone. I keep telling myself you don't mean it. But this. It was one mistake, she whispered. Just one. It was who you are, he replied. At least who you are right now. And I can't marry that. And grabbed his arm again. He gently pulled away. I need to go, he said. Please don't follow me. And he walked out. Anne's legs went weak. She sat back down and covered her face with both hands, shaking. No dramatic sobs, just that numb shaking that happens when you realize something is gone before you can fix it. She stayed in that chair a long time. Eventually, security came politely to escort her out so the next meeting could begin. The moment she stepped into the hallway, every whispered rumor spread like wildfire. Did you hear? She hit his mother. She's pregnant. It's not even his. No, she denies it. His mom wouldn't lie, though. By the time she reached the elevator, her phone vibrated nonstop. Her sister. Her coworker from her old job. People sending question marks, shock emojis, gossip. And turned the phone off and walked out of the building with her head down. Outside, the city moved normally, cars honking, people rushing, vendors yelling, but she felt like she was underwater. Like the noise didn't reach her. That night, the engagement ring sat on her kitchen counter. She kept staring at it like it was going to change its mind and jump back on her finger. She called Marcus 15 times. No answer. Sent him long texts trying to explain. No response. By midnight, she gave up and sat on the floor against her fridge. No tears left. Just a dull, heavy numbness. Meanwhile, Hale sat at her dining table with a cup of tea she didn't drink. She knew she had just blown up her son's relationship. She knew he was hurting. And she knew she had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. But she also believed, almost stubbornly, that she had done the right thing. And wasn't good for Marcus. And if the truth didn't break them up, then something bigger had to. She didn't expect what would happen next. Because 2 days later, Marcus walked into her house without knocking. He sat down across from her. No greeting. No hug. No warmth. Just one question. Did you lie? That was the moment everything shifted. That was the moment the cost of her decision finally showed itself. And it was only the beginning of the fallout. And didn't remember how she got home that day. She remembered the elevator doors sliding shut. She remembered gripping the metal railing because her hands felt numb. She remembered someone asking if she needed help, and she waved them off because she didn't even trust her own voice. But everything else was a blur. When she finally walked into her small apartment, she felt like she'd stepped into someone else's life. The half-folded laundry on the couch, the open cereal box on the counter, the shoes she kicked off last night, none of it felt familiar. It was like she was looking at the space of a person she no longer recognized. She sank onto the couch and sat there for a long time without moving. No crying. No yelling. Just empty. At some point her phone buzzed, and she didn't even check. Then it buzzed again. And again. Eventually the sound annoyed her enough that she reached for it. Text from Marcus. We need time apart. Please don't contact me for now. 2 lines. That was it. That was the end of their engagement. And put the phone face down on the cushion beside her and stared at the wall. The baby. A pregnancy that wasn't his. A lie she couldn't even defend because she had no idea where it came from. She knew it was Hale. There was no one else who would even try something like that. But even knowing that didn't make it easier. Marcus believed his mother. Maybe not fully, maybe not with his whole heart, but enough to walk away from Anne without a second thought. And that broke something inside her in a way she didn't know how to explain. Across town, Hale sat at her dining table staring at her hands. She expected to feel relief. She expected to feel like she'd saved her son's future. Instead she kept replaying the moment and collapsed in that boardroom. The sound of her crying. The way her hands shook. The way her whole body seemed to fold in on itself. Hale didn't enjoy that memory. She didn't expect it to bother her. But it did. Her phone rang. Marcus. She answered quickly. Are you okay? Mom, his voice sounded strained. Exhausted. I can't believe she lied to me like that. Hale hesitated. Marcus. He talked over her. I'm done. I'm done with all of it. I should have listened to you from the start. Honey. I'll call you later, he said. I just need space. The call ended. Hale put her phone down and rubbed her forehead. She'd done what she thought was best. So why did she feel sick? 3 days passed. And didn't leave her apartment except to throw trash away. She ignored calls from her friends. She barely ate. She didn't have the energy to explain anything. People online were posting clips from the board meeting. Someone inside the company had leaked it. Comments rolled in. She cheated and got caught. Girl had a whole baby and lied to her fiancé. This is what happens when you treat workers badly. And wanted to scream that it wasn't true. But nobody cared about the truth. The scandal was more entertaining. By the 3rd day, Her face felt puffy from crying. She finally forced herself into the shower and sat on the floor letting the water hit her while she tried to breathe normally. Her phone buzzed 3 times. A known number. At first she ignored it. But something made her pick up the last call. Hello. A quiet voice answered. Then, Hale. And felt like she'd been punched in the stomach. She almost hung up. What do you want? I'm outside your building. And shut her eyes. Why? We need to talk. I don't want to see you. I understand, Hale said softly. But I'm here because I need to tell you something important. And I'd rather say it in person. And didn't answer. I'm not leaving, Hale added. And ended the call. She sat there on the bathroom floor, towel wrapped around her, angry breathing filling the quiet space. Hale. Standing outside. After everything she did. And knew she should ignore her. She knew nothing good could come from this. But some part of her, maybe the same part that wanted answers, pushed her to get dressed. 10 minutes later she opened the lobby door. And there she was. Hale. In jeans and a coat. Hair pulled back. Hands wrapped together like she wasn't sure what to do with them. They stared at each other for a moment that felt too long. And finally said, say what you need to say. Hale nodded. Can we sit? And didn't want to. But she stepped aside and let her in. They sat in 2 lobby chairs near the mailboxes. Hale took a breath. I lied. And didn't react right away. She wasn't sure she heard correctly. What? I lied, Hale repeated, her voice steady but low. About the pregnancy. And blinked at her. Why? Hale took her time answering. Because I wanted to break you 2 apart. And just stared. So you ruined my life, for what? A grudge over a rag? No, Hale said quietly. Not for that. I was already concerned about your attitude. The rag incident, it wasn't the cause. It was confirmation. And scoffed. So you lied to the board, embarrassed me online, got me dumped, and destroyed everything I had because you didn't like my attitude? Hale looked down at her hands. I thought I was protecting my son. By destroying his relationship? If the relationship was stable, Hale said, a lie wouldn't have ended it. And's chest tightened. So you're saying this is my fault? I'm saying, Hale replied slowly, that I misjudged the impact. I expected an argument. Maybe a breakup. Not the public humiliation. Not the way things spiraled. And leaned back. You could have told the truth that same day. I should have, Hale admitted. You're right. There was a long silence. People walked in and out of the building. Someone checked their mail. A delivery driver left a package by the elevator. Life continued like nothing had happened. Then Hale said something and didn't expect. I'm going to clear your name. And frowned. How? I'll call the board. I'll send a statement. I'll say I made it up. I'll explain everything. And I'll apologize publicly. And stared at her. Why are you doing this now? Because I saw the video, Hale said. You looked lost. And even if I didn't like who you were that day, you didn't deserve the way things played out. And didn't know what to do with that. She wanted to hate Hale. Truly. Deeply. But the woman sitting across from her didn't look smug or proud. She looked tired. And older than and remembered. I don't expect forgiveness, Hale added. I just want to fix what I can. And swallowed. Marcus won't take me back. Hale nodded. Maybe not. But he deserves the truth. And so do you. And didn't respond. Not because she didn't have words, she had too many. None of them helpful. Eventually Hale stood. It'll take a few days to get everything processed through the board. But I'll handle it. And nodded softly. Okay. Hale lingered like she wanted to say more, then turned and walked out. And watched her leave. She didn't feel better. She didn't feel worse. She felt exhausted. From everything. From all of it. 2 days later, the internet exploded again. A new statement went viral. The pregnancy claim made against Anne was false. It was intentionally fabricated by Hale Riff. And was not pregnant. She did not cheat. She was wrongfully accused. People reacted like people always do. Some apologized. Some still called her names. Some said Hale was brave for admitting it. Some said and still deserved what she got for the rag incident. It was messy, but at least the truth was out. And sat at her table scrolling the comments until she needed a break. Just then, someone buzzed her apartment. She wasn't expecting anyone. She froze for a moment, then pressed the intercom button. Hello. A familiar voice answered. And it's me. Marcus. Anne's breath caught. She unlocked the door. He stepped inside, looking rough, unshaven, tired, like he hadn't slept well. He stood there, hands in his pockets, unsure how to start. I got the statement, he said. And nodded. I'm sorry, Marcus said quietly. I should have asked you directly instead of believing it. And swallowed. You trusted your mom. I get it. It wasn't just that, he said. I think part of me knew our relationship wasn't solid. And the lie just pushed it over. And didn't argue. She knew it was true. Marcus sat down on the edge of the couch. You didn't deserve what happened. Any of it. She sat across from him. I wasn't innocent either. He looked up and added, the way I treated your mom, before I knew she was your mom, was wrong. I didn't treat her like a person. I treated her like she didn't matter. And if we're being honest, that's something I need to work on. Marcus didn't interrupt. I'm not asking for us to get back together, and said, I just want to say, I understand why things fell apart. Marcus nodded slowly. I appreciate that. They sat quietly for a few seconds. Then he stood. I hope you take care of yourself. You too. He walked to the door, paused like he wanted to add something, then left. And that was it. Not a dramatic reunion. Not a big speech. Just two people acknowledging the truth and letting each other go. A month later, Anne was standing outside a small commercial building in Brooklyn. She checked the job posting again. Front desk assistant needed. Office admin/customer service. No experience required. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't the kind of job she used to brag about. But it was a start. She took a breath, opened the door, and stepped inside. The receptionist looked up. You here for the interview? Yeah, and said, Anne Matthews. Have a seat. Someone will be with you in a minute. And sat down and looked around. People rushing. Phones ringing. A guy mailing packages. A woman sorting paperwork. Normal life. Normal people. Real work. And didn't feel above any of it. For the first time in her life, she felt like she was finally starting from a real place. A fair place. A human place. Hale and Marcus sat together at a small diner, eating pancakes in a booth by the window. Marcus set his fork down. Did you ever apologize too indirectly? Hale nodded. Yes. And I meant it. How did she take it? She listened. She didn't yell. She didn't blame. She just understood. Marcus gave a faint smile. She's changed. Hale nodded. So have you? Marcus looked outside at the busy street. Do you think I should reach out again? Hale thought for a moment. Only if it's for the right reasons. Not guilt. Not pressure. Real reasons. Marcus took a slow sip of coffee. Maybe someday. Hale smiled at him. Someday is fine. And walked out of her building carrying a small bag of groceries. It was cold, not freezing, but enough to make her zip up her jacket. She stepped onto the sidewalk and noticed an older woman struggling with several bags near the curb. Without thinking, and walked over. Need help? The woman looked relieved. That would be great, honey. And took 2 of the bags and walked with her to her building entrance. The woman thanked her twice. And smiled. It's no problem. And she meant it. As she walked back to her own building, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. Light. Not perfect. Not healed. But lighter. She wasn't engaged anymore. She wasn't rich. She wasn't admired. She wasn't trending online. But she was becoming someone she could actually live with. Someone real. Someone better. And she knew, deep down, that this version of her would have thrown that rag in the trash instead of at someone's face. If you would love more stories, subscribe for a new video tomorrow.